everyone, this is Neil with Wasted Paper here, bringing you another fountain pen review. This time we're looking at a pen I'm really looking forward to opening. This is from Stilo&Stile. I hope I'm saying that right. This was my first purchase from them. They actually announced this pen on Black Friday on their Instagram. That was the first place I saw it. It was kind of like a surprise drop, which is really cool to see. I wasn't prepared money-wise to order it, but I had to get it. It's a Leonardo, and it's got such a cool theme around it. And they made some unique resin. Let's get into it. The entire box is decorated with this decal to match that Kintsugi method, which is like repairing pottery and such with gold. And it gives you that look. They did a really good job printing this on here, as it really gives you some depth and some dimension. You have all of their branding on the front and on the side. Underneath the slip cover, you have the black box and the international guarantee, of course, and the pen. This is that unique material I was talking about. It's like a clear resin, but it has all this detail and inlay into it. The top and bottom are both pointed finials that you're used to seeing. From there, you have the traditional clip, which is the same as always. I had the charm fall. They all come with a charm. I've shown it before. I like them. They're nice. It's cool they do that. From there, you actually have 3 rings right here. It blends in really well with the design because you have the gold and the clear. But you have 3 rings right there. This other one on the bottom is actually where the cap ends. I love that detail when they do this. I think it just looks really classy. On the back of the cap, you have the number I got. It says Leonardo, Stilo&Stile, number 70, which to some could be lucky. It's 070, lucky number 7. Pen and caps with just slightly more than a full turn, not by much, but just a little bit. Since this has that clear resin, you can see the screw that's in the top there to hold that clip in place, which is interesting. I have wondered how they do this without getting any sort of marks or scratches on this resin. It looks like they actually drill this on the inside, push this piece in, and it compresses it with that screw right there, which is really cool. This is their La Fenice nib. I went with the 1.5 stub. I don't buy stubs often, but you've seen them a few times on the channel, and this was a really big one. So I was like, you know what? Let's check that out. We're going to get something giant, and it really is, just judging by the look right there. Jeez. And this does have a plastic feed with it. It's hard to tell, but you can kind of see the threads right here. There's quite a few. If you're used to Leonardo's, you're used to them being there. But they have the edges on them pretty rounded, so you'll have some resistance, as you can see with my hand, but you're not really feeling any sort of sharpness or anything there. Unscrewing the pen is no issue at all. Inside, you have a Leonardo branded converter with a really long knob on here. For those of you not familiar with Leonardo's, they do post, and they post securely. Slides on with some intent, but it stays easily, no issues at all. The ink I'm going to be using for this pen is Bubble Tea from Yoseka's Stationery Fest. This was a pretty unique ink, and it was cool they did one for that event. I was able to get it later on, and now I have it, and I haven't had the pen that I think works best with it. I think this is a really good contender for that. And look at this fancy bottle. Before I put the converter and the nib back inside the pen, I put the cap on the body so you can see this as just like a shell. It's not every day you have the ability to do this with a Leonardo, and I thought it was cool enough that I wanted to show other people too. For my writing sample, I'm going to be going with one of my Traveler's notebooks. This is like my extra one that I use for random doodling and stuff. I don't usually use these refills for writing samples because there's not a ton of pages in them, but it is really good paper, so I figured why not use it for one. As for the flex, this is with no pressure, with, none, with, none, with. So keep in mind, I don't use stub nibs very often because when you are left-handed, you're pushing your nib up this way versus right-handed pulling your nib down this way. So it's not particularly favorable to the nib to do that when it's this wide and broad, but it still works. I just have to go slower. And I hate to make this comparison, but it's almost like writing with like a paper clip. This thing is so big, and the way that feels is like just I don't really know how else to say it than that. As far as the writing goes, though, it really is super consistent. I mean, you can see there's like no variation, at least at the angle I'm writing. It keeps up really well. I got some maybe on this F, but not a lot. You really get the variation from taking the time to move and adjust your nib, write certain angles, stuff like that. I don't do that when I'm doing this writing sample. When you look at the flex here, though, it's more ink. It's not too much more width, maybe the slightest amount with those two, but it's a lot more ink. But you can see right here, so your downstrokes with this are going to be very broad, and then your horizontal strokes are going to be very thin. So you can get some cool stuff, but a lot of that comes from writing slower. When I'm writing faster, I'm just not going to get those kind of results. Or when I'm trying to do like a normal writing session, this really takes intent to make this kind of stuff work really well and happen really well. I really like this ink in this pen though. I think it looks really good together. This is an ink that's kind of faint to begin with, but when I have a stub this big, there's no way I'm not going to get enough ink for that to show up. Before I jump into the size comparison, I actually wanted to grab one pen to show you something that I find interesting, and it's my Esterbrook right here. This is the Bungo Box collaboration, but it had a material that reminded me a lot of this one, right? I hope you can see it too. I'll use the bottom sides because I think that shows it the most. I will say they are different. I don't think there's that much similarities, but to me there is definitely some. This one comes off to me more like a broken glass kind of effect. I hope you see that too. Versus this one, there's definitely like gold foil or gold shimmer stuff in there that's causing it to get that extra depth and fits their theme more. There is definitely a comparison to be made here, and I just wanted you to see what I was talking about. As for the size comparison, I have my Lamy Safari and my Pilot Custom 823. When all of these are side by side, the Kintsugi kind of falls in the middle. It's just slightly longer than the Lamy Safari, mostly because of the points on their finials. Otherwise, you flatten those down, it's about the same size as the Safari. Uncapped, however, it's very similar. I don't think there's much difference at all now, versus with the Custom being just the slightest bit longer. Whereas when they're posted, the Leonardo becomes the longest one here. Not by much, but it has now. As for my final thoughts with this one, I think Stilo&Stile really hit this one out of the park. It's a really unique material on here. It's a unique pen, and doing stuff with Leonardo, I'm going to be a big fan, of course. I think something that I love with this too is that they made it like a last minute like surprise drop. That's not always cost effective for everybody, but I think it's really cool to do that. You kind of build that what is it called? It's that last minute like you need it kind of hype, and I don't think that's necessarily bad. I think they got me, and I'm happy with it too. This big stub nib on here is pretty fun and interesting. I did say it writes like a paperclip. I'm not taking it back, but I think I will do a few more writing samples and maybe do some shorts with it because I can see some cool flair being added with that. All that being said, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. So you made it to the end. Well, that's just great. The giveaway this time for the Giftmas giveaway is going to be this right here is a pen sleeve from She Designs. I talked about them in a previous video for Hello Tello. If you haven't seen that, shame on you. It is already wrapped, as you can see, but it has a charm on the end, a gold string. I have a few of these custom, and all of them have a silver string. Only 2 have gold, and this is one of the only ones in the world. To enter into this giveaway, you have to go to She Designs' website, link in the description down below, and subscribe to their newsletter. Once you've done that, you come back to this video and comment down below, subscribe to Grinch. No spoilers, because the less people know, the more likely you are to win. Thank you for watching, and you'll see more from me soon.